I think it's right to say that it is surprising if people are surprised about what is being said in the European Scrutiny Committee, and indeed the fact that these things are being raised, because a lot of this ground has been covered quite frequently in the media, at least in Gibraltar. I think there has been an element of that. It is true that the details of whatever is being negotiated are unclear. We are unsighted as the opposition. We're not clear on exactly what is being negotiated. All we've got is the framework that has been published a long time ago now, I mean, more than 4 years ago now, and at the time, and this is why I say that it's surprising that people are surprised, if there are people who are surprised, because when 4 years ago the framework, the New Year's Eve agreement was published, we raised some of those issues, these same issues. We raised some of these issues when we gave our reaction in January 2021. So to that extent, I have to say that I don't think there was anything massively new. I think that the reaction of the European Scrutiny Committee also needs to be seen in the wider context. And I think it's important to make a distinction between the issues that are being raised by the committee and what is in the interest of Gibraltar, which is a different matter, perhaps.
Do you think that the European Scrutiny Committee could make problems for Gibraltar in the UK in the treaty negotiations?
Well, look, I mean, the European Scrutiny Committee has its role, clearly. But I think it's important for us to make a distinction between the committee, its views, and the interests and wishes of the people of Gibraltar. Because at the end of it, we are facing a very difficult situation. And look, we're a party that wants to replace the government, the GSLP Liberal government. We have a lot of differences with them. But what is clear is that we've been put in a very difficult position, Gibraltar. We wanted to remain in the European Union. We're now negotiating from a difficult position. There will be a price to any kind of agreement with the European Union. The question is whether the price is acceptable to the people of Gibraltar, whether our sovereignty, jurisdiction and control is properly protected, and whether we have at the end, when we see the detail of the treaty, whether we have a safe and beneficial agreement. That is a judgment that we will make in due course. But what I think is important to distinguish is a rather Brexiteer-led European Scrutiny Committee that is making points from a purist British position and raising spectres where perhaps those issues are not the real concerns of people here. What is important for us in Gibraltar to do is to protect the interests and wishes of the people of Gibraltar. And by that I mean everyone who lives in Gibraltar, who has made Gibraltar their long-term home. Those are the people for whom we must negotiate, for whom we must get a safe and beneficial agreement, and for whom we will make the judgment as to whether whatever is produced in a few months' time or in a few weeks' time is a safe and beneficial agreement. And the jury is out on that. We have always said that, and the position that we take is that we will evaluate that deal when it emerges.
In your answer there, you seem to have echoed some of the comments made by the Chief Minister. I asked him about non-resident British nationals and whether Schengen authorities may deny them entry to Gibraltar, which the European Scrutiny Committee sort of took significant offence to. And in his answer, the Chief Minister stressed that he works for the people of Gibraltar. Your views on that?
Well, we all do work for the people of Gibraltar who have elected us. You know, we have emerged from the closest election ever, and both the government and the opposition work for the people of Gibraltar, and we need to assess what is in the interests of Gibraltar. And this is why I make the point that we want the government out, the GSLP Liberal government out, but what I'm not going to do is to manufacture points just so that there is an opposite view on issues of national interest where I think our interests are actually not different. We both went to the election wanting a safe and beneficial agreement. We both said that in due course that agreement would go to a referendum of the people of Gibraltar. I have always said that I want to see an agreement with the EU that works and protects our sovereignty, jurisdiction and control. We are not in the same position as the government of Gibraltar because we are not cited on the detail. We have raised concerns. We are not, our position has never been that we think that whatever is agreed is going to be a perfect agreement. I have always said, if you go back to my January 2021 comments, that I had concerns on the New Year's Eve agreement as that would affect jurisdiction and control, and yes, perhaps sovereignty. But those are issues that need to be seen whenever the treaty is published and whenever the framework that is then the binding agreement that will bind us all is settled. Once that emerges, we will make the judgment as the opposition as to whether it does tick the box of safe and beneficial, but the interests of the people of Gibraltar are very different to the interests of the British government or British MPs who take different views, because what happened in 2016 was something that we didn't want.
And finally, Mr. Azopardi, elements within the European Scrutiny Committee suggested that the Northern Ireland Protocol shows that sovereignty is a flexible topic. Are you concerned with anything you've heard so far in these negotiations that lead you to suggest that British sovereignty in Gibraltar could be in some way diluted?
Well, let me answer that in two parts, if I may, because one of the points that I do disagree with the Chief Minister on is that there are no parallels to Northern Ireland, because we have always made the point, looking to Northern Ireland, that the British government sought to protect Northern Ireland in a much more vigorous way that they sought to protect Gibraltar, even going back to the withdrawal agreement, where there was a very extensive Northern Ireland protocol that protected or sought to protect Northern Ireland in a much more detailed way, whereas we had a 6-page protocol to the withdrawal agreement. They had a protocol of hundreds of pages in a very granular way. Do I think that sovereignty or jurisdiction or control can be affected by an agreement? Yes, I do. But the question is how, and the question is whether it does in fact happen. So, and we are unsighted on that detail, and we will make that judgment known once the treaty is published, if it emerges. Look, we are weeks, perhaps months away. One of the points that came out from the minister who gave evidence is that he made the point that we are weeks or months away. I mean, Mr. Picardo said that we are kissing distance away. I think that it's a very markedly different position. But I think when an agreement does emerge, I think we will then make the judgment as to whether it is safe and beneficial, and whether it protects Gibraltar's sovereignty, jurisdiction or control.